This is a special one for my content creators, my podcasters. Listen, we about to break down Joe Budden's simple formula to his multi-million-dollar podcast. Let's check it out. Let's go. Welcome back to the Jefetalk podcast channel, also the Jefetalk reaction series. Today we got a good one. You know, I was tapped in. I'm a huge Joe Budden's fan. I was tapped into one of his Patreons, and he was getting into the nuances of how he made his millions, right? How did he get to the peak of where he's at, right? I'm pretty sure he hasn't reached his peak, but it's kind of interesting on his basic formula, right? It's not even going to be that complex. I'm pretty sure there's little gray areas and things that we may not have full clarity. But I think this is a great way to kind of reaffirm and for us to get a better understanding on what it actually takes. So let's check out this clip. Shout out to the Joe Budden Networks. This is on his Patreon. Make sure y'all subscribe. And you know, make sure you showing the love that you need to, because this is really good content that I'm pretty sure he's going to make public like he normally does. But I kind of want to give you a sneak preview of the type of conversations he's having. Check it out.
Sure, me straight.
Congrats to them,
man. Music business. We need a Jimmy Hoffa or something, man. We need somebody to come in here and just
like, yo, it's no, you don't, yo.
We do need a union.
I used to be like you, so I agree. I guess I used to agree with what you're saying.
You don't agree with it now because
your boss,
because you good, and you losing that sense of the hunger and the fight that you don't have to no longer do. You figured out.
I think that's unfair.
Yo, so here, Imani pretty much is kind of, he's about to dig a little bit in Joe real quick, right? Because to give you some more context, he's talking about how all these podcasters out here, they're not making a fair share in this business and industry. You know, everybody is not a boss. They're not built for that. So he wants there to be some type of even, you know, pay system or something in place, especially for maybe the engineers or the cameramen, things of that nature. So Joe Budden is he's about to peel back kind of the mindset you need to have coming into this type of game, coming into this type of industry to be successful. Check it out.
I think that's easy to say about me, but it's also unfair. I'm speaking from the position of, it's the same shit that what's the nigga that threatened fucking academics on our show for Vic Mensa. Vic Mensa is running around with 19 keys. There's a few people running around now saying, yo, we gave the culture away. Which is true.
It's true.
So
David Banner said that as well.
David Banner. Mm-hmm. If we didn't give it away, I'm with you. But the truth is, these niggas have signed their rights away and are down to play a game for a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a penny.
So you don't believe in no repair? You don't believe in any space where, because the message you're giving now is totally different. This is the repair.
This is, I feel like, just speaking for me, I feel like what I'm doing is the repair.
So very interesting. He basically talks about how a lot of these podcasters, a lot of these different shows that we see come and go, they sign their rights away, whether it's for an advertising deal, whether it's for a piece of a pie for a certain amount of time. They are signing their likeness away. They are signing, you know, portions of their ownership away. And he's trying to explain to him that, listen, the way you fix that is you regroup, you reestablish, you rebrand, right? And I love this clip because he kind of gets into exactly on what it really takes to kind of have that vantage point, right? The vantage point, unfortunately, sometimes after a certain amount of times, you start feeling like, hey, there's no way to catch up, right? So I love how he breaks this down. Check this out.
Retired from the only thing I knew how to do and my only love, scared shitless to go build it on my own, to not have to succumb to whatever companies, record labels, executives, or anybody who leeches off of black creation, because I feel like black creation is at the center of all the industries.
That's a fact. That is a major.
Powerful statement. So what he just clarified is that at the end of the day, this is a wolf territory, right? It's eat or be killed. A lot of these different DSPs, the Spotifys, the Apples, and things of that nature, they know how to leverage your talent. They know how to leverage everything that you put your blood, sweat, and tears in. And what he is trying to reaffirm, despite how far he's up, on how to do it. And I think this goes over people's heads so many times.
You also do take acknowledgement that it ain't going to be many people that actually get to that point. And there's still going to have to be some level of workers. There's still going to have to be some people in here.
See, but I'm not...
There's some people that starting out at that point today because they got more information.
Hear me out what I'm saying.
But so I was who you talking about at day one, right?
You were that up to Rage. Like you were on the pod.
When I say day
coming
one,
up
I'm
here
talking
saying,
about after Rage.
Cool, right. So you were saying that, and I understand why now you can have a different perspective because you took a certain path and doing that. But there's still people under you that would still have to be workers who would still need some level of you, no matter how
they
well
could work for Black Wall Street. They could come work for all of the Black Wall Street. That's why I think Mark being here is is symbolic of so many things. I believe Mark to be brilliant.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. All that Israel shit this nigga.
So very, very interesting turn in the conversation. So Imani talks a little bit about, listen, it's now so many different people in a position where they can't even reach the top. Right. And he feels there should be a union of them. But what Joe Budden is trying to share is that, hey, at the end of the day, if you take on that challenge, if you take on that ambition, taking that pride, right, when it comes down to building yours, having something you could put your name on, right, even if you are a personality that's not a take charge type, you now can work with those people who are in alignment with that different mindset and open up doors for other people. So that's why he talks a little bit about how Mark coming on to the podcast, how that opens up so many different doors for people or his target audience that can capitalize off what's being leveraged right now, which is the brilliant mind and the brilliant speaking that he does so eloquently throughout the podcast and the series.
He's the man and all that shit and worked everywhere. I don't think I'm the first nigga to notice that this bitch got body. She just happened to slip through the cracks of many people, and now you land
where it could really work. For real.
Yo, dog, when I was looking for deals and all them white-ass companies was fucking shutting me down for whatever money I was asking for, you had to go through, they had to run it up to 900 people to get your little money approved anyway. So, but when they was doing all that, sometimes, and I say it all the time, some of the companies had a black person there that had their pulse on things, like Tim at Amazon, Larry over there, and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I fuck with the white people that have black people around. So when there's a black issue or something black, you can ask them and they can know.
But the conversation of what
we talking about is you working here. It's us working.
But even in that, so now
we ain't gotta go outside and just bend over for these niggas.
Joe, what I'm saying, when you say we, now I'm gonna be very direct and blunt.
All right, so even before he gets into that, which I'm about to play, he's still missing it. What Joe Budden is trying to say, because of his courage, he created an ecosystem where everybody can flourish. So I want you to think about your crew or your teams out there that y'all all fighting for the same thing. But if one is just able to get in position, now that allows you to capitalize off the infrastructure y'all built, and then y'all can flourish in y'all different areas and whatever pursuits y'all trying to get. And this is what Joe was trying to explain to him, that, hey, this is how you fix companies taking advantage of you. This is how you fix the DSPs exhausting everything they can to make a dollar off of your name. You create it, you incubate it on your own, right? You tag everything, you put your brand on everything, you get your LLC together, right? If you look on my screen, you see Jefetalk, Jefetalk, Jefetalk. Right? Everything is designed to push my brand forward. It may be a slower path, right? It may be a longer climb up the hill, but guess what? I'm in the best position because I say when these lights come on and when these lights go off. Very strong conversation here.
Do it. You are the owner of this. You are the person who takes the brunt of everything. You take the most, you pay out the most, you do everything, right? Mm-hmm. If I come on as a salary worker, whatever, right? And let's just say there's me and multiple people who are working at the same pace, and we all have a discrepancy. We at some point will have to unionize within each other to bring that to you, and you have the option to either shoot it down or say, okay, I'll work with you. Even on a small independent level, that should still be able to exist.
That's one way to look at it. That is one way to look at it. That exists.
So I get his point. He's saying even within the ecosystem of black ownership, right? Or let's say your crew has finally got to a level, it's going to get to a point where you're going to have more people you're hiring, right? There's still going to be a crew under that entrepreneurship, that boss level, which is Joe Budden's in this case. So his case is basically saying there still should be a representation for us workers, right? So I didn't see Joe debunk that, but he's going to also give another vantage point or way how to look at that particular conversation.
So I don't want to discount that. Or, right, an alternative, fucking
Bill Jones.
Well, yeah, that's the key.
But that's not how life works, Joe. Everyone's not going to be the boss of for you to make this work. For you to make this work, you have to have workers.
25 years ago, that's not true. There are people in their rooms right now. They call them streamers.
That's true.
There's people. Potting started
Content
like streaming. Potting started like, oh shit, low overhead, and you can just sit there on the couch and talk. 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when I first started taking show money for Pump It Up and all that, I looked to Worm. Worm is on Spaces now. Mm-hmm. Y'all can hit him and ask him yourself. He was my very first hype man. I looked at Worm and Doughboy. Shout out to Doughboy. In the band, and I was like, yo, y'all. Can't believe we getting paid for this shit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yo, could you believe that shit, y'all? And I said to Worm, my best friend at the time, y'all would do this for free. We wasn't getting nothing but $5,000 a show.
I think that right there is the most powerful statement. Is he didn't get into it initially because of the money, right? We all know there's a tangible aspect from all of this if you get a break, right? If you get lucky. But he's talking about doing something that he will do even if it was for free. And that's where passion starts to boil up. That's where that passion starts to incubate into something just beautiful, because now you are living your life on your terms, right?
But this is at the height of Bump It Up. That's great. So we doing this 4 or 5 times in a week.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's kind of the same stupid shit that I said to Ian at Complex. It's like, yeah, man, I know we getting $20,000 a month. Which was nothing, but again, the visibility play. Mm-hmm. I know we getting $20,000 a month. But
so he just exposed, he was getting about $20,000 per month at Complex. But listen to what he said. It wasn't about the money, it was the visibility, right? So sometimes when you're putting your content out, when you're putting out just you being you and you showing your talents, it's not always going to be an attachment to money. It might just be the views. It might just be the recognition, the brand recognition. Right. So this is a masterclass that he is actually given on understanding the highs and the low and the intricate parts to becoming what you eventually want to become. And it usually is always based from the ground up of not even having any affiliation of money. It has to be a passion. It has to be a love for the game.
Man, if I could just make 50, I'd be good. That's all I would ever need. right?
And then you get
and when I started talking and elevating in the talking job, it got to
scaling up.
Not only is this so much better than anything I had ever done in rap in terms of earning, but it's doing me so good, I should do more of it.
So basically, you notice he kept saying he kept talking and talking until he started elevating, right? There's a communication part that he kind of shines a little bit of light on. You have to speak up, right? You have to start deciding, hey, what are you actually worth, and be able to voice that to whoever is cutting a check or who's willing to partner with you, right? So it's kind of a very interesting path of understanding that you're going to also have to build those skill sets, right? You're going to have to be savvy when it comes down to talking to these executives, talking to these boardrooms, talking to these different partnerships or these different advertising companies about, hey, listen, I know what I'm worth, but how much are you willing to make this partnership or venture deal happen, right? So it's really awesome to hear how he went from 20,000 and now he's like, wait, we can probably get 50,000 out of this, right? But it all started from the ground up. Again, I don't want y'all to lose that point from the passion that he had behind podcasting, because he said he'll do this even if it was for free, right? That was huge gems that I definitely took a lot from. Shout out to Joe Budden. Let's finish this.
And that's the mistake that I see so many other people make. Comfort. Like in the first iteration, not to talk about them because I think they're doing great.
It's comfort. We're here.
But the gig was doing so great for me, and I thought it was doing so great for them, that I'd be confused why you wouldn't try to emulate certain things to have on your own.
So he's talking about his original cast, I think is Rory and Mal, right? Shout out to them as well. He's like, I already gave y'all the formula. I gave y'all the formula, right? Does it make sense to try to reinvent or start from scratch? Hey, to each his own. Some people want to have probably a little bit more claim to their fame, but to him, it just didn't make sense. I showed y'all how to run up a bag. I showed you how to get to the first M, even if there was discrepancies or conversations that you just didn't approve of or whatever what was done, he say, she say, but you got the blueprint. You were working hand in hand with me every day. Right. So I like how he kind of shares, hey, sometimes it's okay to emulate or repeat success. Right. And that's why this masterclass is very important. And make sure y'all check this out, because he gives you details of understanding is that it's okay to emulate who you inspire to be like or be a version of. Right. It doesn't take away any pride. It's just a matter of just being smart enough to understand there's a road already laid in front of you. You just got to be disciplined and follow the blueprint.
Why wouldn't you want to start your own anything that brings it back? Facebook, SoundCloud, TikTok, Patreon, YouTube, 2 YouTubes, 3 YouTubes. Why would you not want to give yourself a shot if you see what's happening here? 1 and 2, if you have somebody that's pulling you in and shining a light, all we've ever done on this broadcast is shine a light on people and allow them to go and do whatever you can do with that on your own.
Yo, I think that is a definitely dope thing to highlight. You know, if you know his track record, for those who are Joe Budden fans of the podcast, everybody get to do what they want. You know, you got Flip still doing his network. You got Mel doing her own podcast. You got Ice doing his own thing. You know, everybody within that organization, I don't see anybody coming online saying, yo, he got me in a lock. He got me on hold. I can't do anything, right? And I think that speaks to the beauty of something, of building something from scratch. You now can let your friends prosper. You now can let your friends do them if they ever decide to, right? When he talked about making another Facebook, making another YouTube, it's okay. I think sometimes we get so caught up in trying to be the cool guy, trying to be the cool girl. Look, I ain't copying, but at the end of the day, we got one life to live, right? We have a certain amount of time from when we are born until we pass away, right? If there's success laid in front of you, it's mind-boggling on how much harder you make it by being so caught up in your ego, you don't want to emulate it, right? And this is what he's talking about.
Facts. Now, if you fail, that's not on me. But when we have our own, that's what we could do.
Yeah, but you also have to acknowledge as you're scaling up, and it becomes now a bigger business, because you're not just talking to the financial side, you're now talking to just exposure and everything. As you scale up, all that one person behind the camera streaming by themselves does not look the same. Even with Akai, when Akai started, and he started at the small level that he started at, and as he started to scale,
he's a full production.
You get a vanity play. That's a vanity play. Do not compare your day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to somebody else's 100th. Bars. How many are out there looking at a person's 10,000th hour or their 1,015 day in whatever game they in, and you are now keeping you from starting day one just because yours does not look like theirs, right? Jefetalk podcast for me was a way for me to express myself from a boss level, from a boss mentality. But the key was, I know in the beginning I was struggling to make everything so perfect, right? From the production, the lighting, the microphones. I had to learn Adobe Premiere. I had to learn how to mix. I had to learn all of that because I wanted to be so perfect, because I was watching the Joe Buddens. I was watching the Joe Rogans and all the great podcasters out there, because look, I work full time. I got another company I'm building. I'm a family man, but I still want my passion to come out a certain way. But the problem is, I'm not looking at the time it took for that to develop into what it is, right? So once I kind of got over that hump and I finally got an understanding that, wait a minute, the success is not the end goal or the end product. The success is in the journey, right? That is always something that I knew once I understood, I'm going to be straight. And I was just so just excited to understand that real success is in the journey, because now you'll be able to create and formulate your own product, because you're tweaking, you're adjusting, you're learning and things of that nature. You're already successful. So I hope this message today, as we almost finish up, is resonating for my creators out there. Whether you starting your own business, even if it's not a podcast or content, start it. But don't evaluate yourself based off the next person, because that's usually the thing that holds people back. So Mark kind of talks about the nuances of becoming your own boss. Start realizing you got to keep a schedule on your own. You don't got a boss telling you what time to be at work. You don't have an assistant. You don't have a lunchroom providing you food. Like, you don't have a budget from corporate. You gotta work to come up with the money to buy the equipment you need, right? So I love this conversation, because now it's also an understanding of your position. What is the sacrifice you willing to make? What are the certain things you're willing to give up by being attached, right, to an entity that can provide all these things, right? But now, when you detach yourself from that, you're going to have to provide it for yourself. So this is a really well-rounded conversation on understanding, hey, there's not only one way to make $1 million. There's not only one way to make several $1 million, right? There's multiple ways. But the key thing that I definitely took away from this conversation is understanding that you have to start, right? Do not base your day one based off somebody's 100th day or 100th episode or 100th song or 100th business, right? I can't count. I mean, I could count the amount of business I had, but I know I can count more than 4 or 5 different businesses I actually started, right? I could count 1,000 different ideas I had, right? But it only takes one to make that breakthrough, right? You got to keep in mind, just because you build something with your own crew does not take away any type of wrongdoings, right? People still mess up. People still fall short. People still get greedy. Emotions get involved. I can't count the amount of different businesses and podcasts that I see on social media that just goes down a drain because natural characteristics comes out and messes up the whole thing.
right? So I think this was a great conversation. I definitely want y'all to make sure y'all show Joe Budden some love. Download that episode. Shout out to his Patreon. And just understand, right, there's always a different path to the different end road that you're trying to get. It doesn't have to be a strict line. But I think today's conversation and also an understanding just the mindset you have to go in things can definitely give you the empowerment and things you need to take it to that next level. Yo, this has been Jefetalk. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure you subscribe below. You hit like, right? Y'all help me get these subscribers up and let's take this to the next level. This has been a pleasure and I am out.